Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Well, today let's talk a little bit about decoys. Everybody's favorite topic when it comes to waterfowl hunting. Every time we do a waterfowl decoy video, it always has a lot of opinions and comments that come out in regards to decoys, because everybody has a belief on what the best decoys are out there and what brands are the best to use. But today, we're not going to be talking specifically about the brand of decoys. We're going to be talking about two different styles of decoys, which are painted head decoys versus flocked head decoys. So, if you're not familiar with flocked head decoys are almost like a velvet material head decoy. If you're new to waterfowl hunting and you're starting to look at decoys for this upcoming season, you probably already know what I'm talking about. And for those of you experienced hunters that's been doing this for a long time, you absolutely know the difference between a flocked head decoy and a painted head decoy. But for those of you who are getting into waterfowl hunting and you're trying to figure out, hey, what is the best decoy for me to buy style-wise when it comes to a painted head versus a flocked head, well, that's what this video is about, and we're hopefully going to simplify that for you and make that decision a little bit easier for you and educate you on some of the pros and cons of both. So let's start with a painted head decoy. So if I am a public land hunter, for instance, and I'm looking to get into waterfowl hunting and I'm trying to build my spread up, I go to my local outdoor store or I shop online and I see painted head decoys. What are the advantages of a painted head decoy as compared to what a flocked head decoy offers? Well, first of all, the first thing that comes to mind is typically price point. So on a painted head decoy, even though there are some high dollar ones out there nowadays, as compared to when I was coming up, buying decoys back in my college days, typically in most cases, painted head decoys will cost you less than what you'll pay for a flocked head decoy. So cost is the number one thing that I would tell you if you're a beginning waterfowl hunter. That's probably something that's going to matter to you. You're going to want to keep your cost as far as getting all your equipment down as much as possible, or the best bang for the buck to be able to make your spread as big as you could get it. So a painted head decoy from companies such as Flambeau, Higdon, Cabela's, there's a million different companies out there, Avian X, all these companies, Academy Sports and Outdoors, they all make budget, friendly painted head decoys that you could get into the sport of waterfowl hunting for at a very reasonable rate. So cost is going to be important to you as a beginning waterfowl hunter or somebody possibly looking just to replace decoys that's been hunting for years. Oftentimes cost is a major aspect in what decoy you're going to choose and go with for most people. Another thing is durability. Durability of a painted head decoy versus a flocked head decoy. I would have to tell you that a painted head decoy in most cases is going to be a lot more durable than a flocked head decoy. You don't have to baby it quite as much as a flocked head decoy. Now, if you're a public land hunter like we are, then you're going to be, going into public land spots. You're going to be out there competing with other hunters. You're going to be dragging those decoys in and out after, at the beginning of the hunt and after the hunt. You're going to be throwing them in your boat. You're going to be dragging them on the ground as you walk in. Maybe you're in some flooded timber. You're going to be floating them through the water. So you put a lot of wear and tear on your decoys as a public land hunter. Once again, that's an advantage of a painted head decoy, in my opinion, and what I would recommend for somebody who's a public land waterfowl hunter. I would say that the painted decoy is going to give you more durability at a lesser price than you would get out of a flocked head decoy in that situation. Now, if you're the style of hunter who is maybe in a lease, maybe you're leasing a rice field or a piece of property, a piece of swamp, and it's your lease that you get to hunt, you don't have to compete against other hunters throughout the season, then in that situation, you may be purchasing your decoys, putting them out at the beginning of the season, and then you are leaving them throughout the season in your spread or the holes that you hunt. In a situation like that, I would highly recommend looking at flocked heads, because you're not putting the wear and tear on those decoys, dragging them in, pulling them out, throwing them in the boats, throwing them in the back of the truck, that you would with a public, as much as what a public land hunter would do. So in that situation, those decoys are set out and you're leaving them out there for the most part. So what's the advantage of a flocked head decoy in a situation for such as a lease hunter? Well, a couple of things of a flocked head versus a painted head that's a pro is that it is a more realistic looking decoy in many cases. Like I mentioned, the material on a flocked head decoy gives it that ultra realistic look. When you harvest the bird this season and you're hunting with somebody who maybe has flocked head decoys, put that bird next to a flocked head decoy and look at how similar it looks compared to that decoy. Oftentimes you'll find that flocked head decoys are ultra realistic and look just like the bird itself that you harvest out of the field. So that's a major advantage, in my opinion, with the flocked head decoy. Now, another advantage with a flocked head decoy is also on those bright sunny days where the sun's shining down on those decoys. You're working those birds from up high. You want them to see those decoys, on those sunny days, and you get them down there, then, you don't have to worry typically with a flocked head decoy of getting those birds too close and then them flaring off because of any kind of glare coming off of the heads of those decoys. I can tell you from personal experience that we've hunted, there's been situations where we've hunted and, you get these birds working in close, and then how many times have we had a set of birds or a pair of birds or a group of birds flare off, and we're sitting there kind of scratching our heads saying, hey, was it us? Was it the decoys? And oftentimes I think what it is, especially on those bright days, is that you'll get those birds in close. And, the later in the season it goes, those birds are more educated. They've seen it all pretty much. They're very smart birds at that point. And when they see any kind of glare coming off of those heads of those decoys, they may decide to say, I'm not coming in to finish off right here and sit down next to these decoys. Something don't look quite right. So on a painted head decoy, you may get those birds on a bright sunny day coming in, and then that glare off of those heads possibly flares those birds or keeps them out of a shooting range for you. So a flocked head decoy is less glare. You will eliminate the glare coming off of the decoys because of that flocked head. And a lot of times with that ultra realistic look of those flocked head decoys, minus the glare coming off of them, you'll get those birds a little bit closer and you'll get them to finish on flocked head decoys. So that could be a major advantage with flocked head decoys, guys. So, to answer my own question, is flocked better for you or is painted head decoys better for you? It really just depends, like you can tell, what type of hunter you are. If you're a hunter that's like not only a public land hunter, but you're also a hunter that doesn't really take care or baby your equipment or want to baby your equipment, then a painted head decoy, a good high quality painted head decoy, is going to be probably a better fit for you. If you're somebody who's OCD with their equipment, kind of like I am, I take care of my equipment, I clean it up, I make sure it's operating like it should be, so when I get out there, it works like it should, then hey, a flocked head decoy may be a solution for you and maybe something that you want to go with in that situation. Also, when we're talking decoys, and I mentioned the cost of flocked head decoys being a little bit more expensive typically than your painted head decoys, if you want to try to eliminate, paying more for the flocked head decoys, then a great time, of course, would be in the off season to look to purchase decoys at that point. You can oftentimes find places like Cabela's, Bass Pro Shops, Max Prairie Wings, all the online big retailers and big box stores, your local Academy Sports and Outdoors, all these retailers at the end of the season or in the off season, if they have stock left over, they'll clearance those products out, and that is a great time to be able to go and maybe purchase some of those flocked head decoys at a lower price point, therefore making it, a tit for tat, cost efficient way to purchase flocked head decoys at what you would typically pay for your painted head decoys. So off season is a great time. Also, other places to look are online marketplaces such as Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, or Facebook groups, Instagram groups, having to pertain to waterfowl hunting. So many times I see people come into this sport and then they get into it, they buy a bunch of gear, and then about 2 years, 3 years down the road, they decide they want to start deer hunting again or do some other type, maybe go back to fishing. They don't want to waterfowl hunt, and they'll put all their gear on these marketplaces, and you could get some phenomenal deals on online marketplaces at that point, and maybe build up your arsenal a lot quicker than if you were paying retail price for all that equipment to get started. So that's also a key tip, guys. Look at the online marketplaces. You can get some really good deals there when you're talking about decoys as well. So hopefully you guys have an opinion on this. You can tell me if you agree with me on some of the things I said today, or leave a comment down in the comment section. I'd like to know what you guys think. Flocked heads versus traditional painted decoy heads. What do you prefer? What have you found? Which one is better for you? And what are some of the advantages or disadvantages that I may have left out in this video that you could bring to the table? Leave those comments down below, and I would love to respond to any questions that you guys have in regards to decoy flocked heads versus painted heads. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say on that. Well, until next time, guys, this is Jacob with Last Stop Waterfowl Outdoors. We'll talk again soon. We'll bring you guys some more great content. Hit that subscribe button so you get it all when we bring it to you, and we'll talk again soon. Y'all take care.